The night air of the alien city was heavy, filled with smoke from broken machines and the scent of food that the street vendors cooked for the rich. But down in the narrow alleys, no warmth could be found. There, under the shadows of giant towers, a young alien girl tried to survive another cold evening. Her small frame was wrapped in thin cloth, her silver hair tangled, her bare feet covered in dust. She was one of the forgotten, the ones who slept on the ground while others feasted behind walls of glass and steel. Every day was the same for her. She begged for food. She searched for scraps. Sometimes people threw coins at her. Sometimes they kicked her aside as if she were nothing. But tonight, something strange caught her eye. While she walked slowly past the corner of the great marketplace, she saw a glimmer near the edge of the path. It was not a coin. It was not food. It was something different. A small, flat object lay there, shining faintly in the neon lights above. She bent down, her heart beating faster, and picked it up. The surface was smooth, made of dark metal with glowing lines across it. At first she thought it was only a piece of broken tech, but then she saw the Sealand official mark, carved with precision. She froze. It was the wallet of a diplomat. Her hands shook as she held it closer. Everyone in the city knew that the diplomats were not ordinary people. They were powerful, untouchable, guarded by soldiers with weapons that could burn through stone. Whoever lost this wallet was not just rich, but important, maybe dangerous. For a moment she thought of running. If she kept it, she might sell it for food, maybe enough to live for many weeks. But another voice inside her whispered of risk. If the guards found her with this wallet, she could be punished, even executed. Yet, if she returned it, perhaps the diplomat would reward her. Perhaps, for once, someone would see her not as trash, but as a person. She looked around the street. People passed by without noticing her. Nobody cared that she stood holding something so valuable. To them, she was invisible. But inside her chest, her heart felt heavy. She had a choice to make. Slowly, she began to walk toward the glowing embassy towers. Each step felt like walking into danger. The further she went, the brighter the streets became, filled with banners, guards, and machines that scanned the crowd. The gates of the embassy rose high above, carved with alien symbols that glowed like fire. Two tall guards in shining armor stood at the entrance, their eyes scanning every person who dared to approach. Her legs trembled. She clutched the wallet tighter. The urge to turn back almost swallowed her. But something inside her, maybe courage, maybe desperation, pushed her forward. The guards noticed her. Their eyes narrowed. One of them moved his weapon slightly, warning her to stop. She raised the wallet high, her thin voice breaking the silence. This belongs to the diplomat," she said, her words trembling. The guards exchanged a glance. Whispers spread through the crowd that had gathered near the gates. People stared, confused. Why would a dirty street girl hold the wallet of such a powerful man? Before anyone could answer, the doors of the embassy opened. Heavy footsteps echoed against the stone floor. The diplomat himself appeared, tall and strong, his face unreadable. His eyes fixed on the girl, on the wallet in her small hands. And in that moment, time seemed to stop. The crowd held its breath as the girl stood frozen, clutching the wallet close to her chest. The diplomat's gaze was sharp, his expression unreadable, as though he were trying to see through her trembling figure. His armor gleamed under the lights of the embassy, every polished line reflecting authority and danger. The guards stepped forward, ready to seize her, but his raised hand stopped them. That single gesture made the world fall silent. Her throat was dry, but she forced out the words again, her voice shaking. I found this. It belongs to you." She extended her thin arms, the wallet resting on her open palms as if it carried the weight of her life. The diplomat slowly approached. His heavy boots struck the ground with steady rhythm, and each step made her heart pound louder. She wanted to run, yet her legs refused to move. When he reached her, he took the wallet without a word. For a moment, he only stared at it, turning it over in his hands, as though confirming something hidden within. Then his eyes lifted back to her face. There was no anger, no gratitude, only a cold, piercing silence that made her shiver. The guards looked uneasy. The onlookers whispered, waiting for his command. Surely this poor girl would be dragged away. But instead, the diplomat spoke for the first time. His voice low yet powerful. "Follow me." The girl blinked, certain she had misheard. Follow him? Into the embassy? It was unthinkable. Yet the guards parted, obeying his order without question. He turned and walked through the great gates, not even glancing back to see if she came. Her instinct screamed that stepping inside was a mistake, but curiosity and fear tangled inside her. Pulling her forward, she walked behind him, past the glowing doors, into a world unlike anything she had ever seen. The inside of the embassy shimmered with light. Walls of glass displayed endless stars, golden symbols pulsed along the floors, and strange machines hummed with energy. Every step echoed through the vast hall, and her ragged appearance felt even smaller against the perfection of this place. The diplomat never slowed, his cloak flowing behind him. Guards lined the hall, their faces hidden behind masks, but none stopped her. It was as though her presence had already been decided. She could not tell if she was being honored or led into a trap. At last, he stopped in a chamber larger than any temple she had known. Its ceiling was high, the walls lined with glowing tablets and maps of galaxies she could not name. He turned, his sharp eyes resting on her once more. "You could have kept it," he said simply. "You could have sold it or thrown it away, but you chose to return it." His tone carried no warmth, only an edge of curiosity. "Why?" The girl swallowed, her voice small. "Because it wasn't mine. Because it was the right thing to do." For the first time, something shifted in his gaze. Not a smile, not softness, but a flicker of interest, like a man discovering a rare stone buried in the dirt. "Interesting," he murmured, and with a snap of his fingers, the chamber doors sealed shut behind her. Her chest tightened. Whatever fate awaited her, she was now trapped inside a world of power far beyond her imagination, and the true test had only begun. The doors closed with a deep metallic echo that made the girl's skin crawl. She spun around and saw no handle, no way back to the streets she knew. The chamber felt enormous and alive, the glowing tablets humming faintly as though they were listening. Her breath quickened. She had stepped into another world, and escape was no longer an option. The diplomat moved slowly across the chamber, his tall figure casting long shadows on the shining floor. He studied her without speaking, each second stretching endlessly. The silence was heavy, pressing against her ears until she thought she might scream just to break it. Finally, he stopped, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Do you know what you carry?" She clutched her hands together, confused. "It was a wallet," she whispered. "Yours, I found it on the street." His eyes narrowed. "And you believe it is only that? A simple wallet?" Her heart thumped harder. Was there more to it? She had only seen strange markings, nothing more. But the way he stared at her made her feel she had touched something dangerous, something forbidden. He gestured, and one of the glowing tablets lit up. An image appeared, showing her picking the wallet from the street. The recording made her gasp. Every movement, every hesitation had been captured. She realized in horror it was never an accident. The wallet had been placed there. She had been watched. Her voice trembled. "Why me?" The diplomat stepped closer. "Because no one else returned it. Many saw, many walked past. Some even tried to take it, but fear stopped them. You alone carried it to the gates." His words were calm, but his eyes were sharp, searching her for weakness. "That choice says more than you realize." The girl felt dizzy. She had only wanted to do the right thing, yet here she was, standing in front of someone who held her life in his hands. The diplomat's tone deepened. "You are not ordinary, and ordinary cannot serve what is coming." The chamber grew colder, the lights dimming until only his figure glowed against the darkness. Her body stiffened as he circled around her like a predator. She wanted to speak, but fear locked her voice inside her chest. Every instinct told her to run, but there was nowhere to go. Then he stopped behind her, his voice low but heavy with power. "Tell me the truth. Did you return it for reward, or because it was right?" Her lips parted, and her words tumbled out before she could stop them. "Because it was right. I don't care about reward. I just didn't want trouble." For a moment, silence hung again, longer and deeper than before. Then she heard something she had never expected: laughter. Not loud, not cruel, but soft, like someone who had finally found what they were looking for. He stepped in front of her once more, his expression unreadable yet sharper than ever. "Good," he said simply. "Then you passed the first test." The girl's stomach tightened. If this was only the first, what would come next? The girl's pulse thundered in her ears as his words sank in the first test. Her hands trembled at her sides, her eyes darting around the vast chamber for answers that weren't there. She had thought she was finished once she returned the wallet, but now she realized her night was only beginning. The diplomat raised one hand, and the glowing tablets around them shifted. The walls shimmered, turning into windows of memory, showing fragments of her life on the streets, her stealing stale bread, her curling up in corners to escape the cold, her reaching out for help only to be ignored. She gasped, horrified. Every secret struggle she had lived was here, on display before this powerful man. "You are watched more than you know," he said calmly, as though reading her fear. "The city is not blind. Every action leaves a trace." He walked toward one of the glowing panels, his voice smooth but sharp. "Tell me, girl, do you regret your choices? Begging, stealing, lying when you had to?" Her throat tightened. She lowered her eyes. "I only did what I needed to live. If that was wrong, then I'm sorry." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he snapped his fingers, and the images vanished. Survival is not shameful, but honesty in admitting it is rare. His piercing gaze returned to her. "That is why you are still standing here." The girl's chest rose and fell quickly. She felt like she was being pulled apart, weighed on invisible scales. He motioned for her to step forward. Reluctantly, she obeyed, her bare feet tapping against the polished floor. At the center of the chamber lay a pedestal with a glowing crystal cube. Its surface pulsed with shifting light, soft and alive. "Place your hand on it," the diplomat ordered. She hesitated, her breath catching. "What will it do?" "It will reveal you." His reply was simple, yet chilling. Her stomach twisted, but she reached out slowly, her fingers brushing the cube's warm surface. At once, light surged up her arm, racing into her chest, spreading through her entire body. She gasped, unable to move as the glow scanned her very soul. Images flashed above the cube, her memories, her fears, her dreams she had never spoken aloud. The crowding loneliness, the hunger, the desperate hope that someone somewhere would finally see her. Tears stung her eyes. It was as if the crystal tore open everything she had kept hidden. The light faded, and she pulled her hand back, trembling. The cube dimmed, leaving only silence behind. The diplomat's eyes narrowed, studying the last flicker of light that had revealed her heart. "You value truth more than gain, pain more than pride. That makes you different." His voice lowered. "And difference is power." She swallowed hard. The weight of his words pressed into her chest. She had no idea what he truly wanted, but she knew she was being drawn deeper into something far larger than herself. The diplomat straightened, his presence filling the chamber. "You have survived the test of honesty. Now, the choice of courage lies ahead." Her knees weakened. Another test, another risk. She had stepped into a path from which there was no turning back. The chamber felt heavier now, as though the walls themselves were leaning closer to hear her next breath. The girl's hands still shook from the crystal's strange light, her mind replaying the secrets it had exposed. She wanted to step back, to escape into the streets she once hated, but her body remained frozen. The diplomat's presence anchored her like chains. He paced slowly, his boots striking the polished floor with a steady rhythm. "Most would have failed," he said at last, his voice carrying through the vast room. "They would have hidden behind lies or cursed the world for their suffering. But you gave me truth." He stopped and turned sharply toward her, his eyes gleaming in the faint glow. "And truth is the rarest gift in this city." Her throat felt dry. "Why does it matter to you?" she whispered. The diplomat studied her for a long, silent moment. Then he raised the wallet she had returned, holding it between his hands. With a flick of his wrist, it opened not with money, but with light. Streams of data and shifting symbols poured into the air, forming maps of stars and worlds she could not name. Gasps of wonder escaped her lips as the room filled with glowing constellations. "This was no accident," he said, his deep voice echoing. "The wallet you returned is not simple property. It holds coordinates, secrets, alliances. If it had fallen into the wrong hands, War could have erupted before dawn. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. She had carried such danger so casually, unaware of its weight. The diplomat stepped closer, lowering his voice. "But do you see why you were chosen? You could have stolen it. You could have run. Yet you returned it, not knowing what it was. That choice proved more than honesty. It proved courage." Her lips trembled. "Chosen." He nodded once. "Yes, for years I searched among the rich, the trained, the honored. Yet all of them failed. They hunger for power. They twist truth. They bow only to greed. But you, a girl forgotten by all, showed me something they could not." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze heavy and unrelenting. "You are proof that even the broken can carry greatness." The girl's eyes widened, her chest tightening with both fear and wonder. Nobody had ever spoken of her as anything but worthless. The diplomat's words were like fire and ice, terrifying yet awakening something inside her. She had buried long ago a hope she had stopped believing in. Her voice cracked as she asked, "What do you want from me?" The diplomat turned away, gazing at the star maps still glowing around them. "Not what I want, what the galaxy needs." He gestured, and the images shifted to reveal warships gathering, armies marching, and worlds on the edge of collapse. The sight made her knees weaken. "You will have a choice," he said firmly, "to return to the shadows of the street, or to step into light, where danger and destiny walk together. That is the true test awaiting you." The stars flickered, fading back into darkness. The chamber fell silent again, but in her heart, a storm had begun. The silence in the chamber felt endless, broken only by the slow beat of her frightened heart. The girl stared at the fading stars that had shimmered in the air, their ghostly light still lingering in her mind. The diplomat stood tall, his hands clasped behind his back, his face unreadable. When he finally spoke, his words rolled out with the weight of command. "You have seen enough to know the truth," he said. "The galaxy is breaking. Old alliances crumble, and new enemies rise. I cannot trust the powerful, for they hunger for control. I cannot trust the wealthy, for they sell loyalty for coins. But you." His eyes locked onto hers, steady and sharp. "You came with nothing, and yet you carried the most valuable secret in this city with courage. That makes you dangerous in a way they can never be." Her lips parted, but no sound came. She had never been called dangerous. She had only been hungry, forgotten, ignored. The diplomat stepped closer. His presence seemed larger, as though the very room bent around him. "I offer you a path," he said. "Not of comfort, not of safety. A path of fire. Walk it, and you will leave behind the streets forever. But know this: every step will demand pieces of you. Fear will hunt you. Enemies will rise against you. And once you begin, you cannot turn back." Her chest tightened, a mixture of dread and fragile hope burning inside her. "And if I refuse?" she asked quietly. "Then you walk out of here alive." He answered calmly. "You return to the alleys, to hunger, to shadows. You vanish into the crowd once more, and this night is forgotten. No one will stop you." His voice lowered, steady as stone. "The choice is yours." The girl looked down at her hands. They were small, rough, marked by years of struggle. For so long, she had believed they could only ever beg or steal. Now, those same hands held the power to shape something far greater. The thought terrified her. She lifted her eyes, and in them flickered a battle fear against longing, doubt against the quiet desire to matter. The diplomat seemed to sense it, his gaze never leaving hers. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because," he said, his tone carrying both steel and certainty, "you are unclaimed. No chains of greed, no hunger for thrones, only the will to survive and the courage to return what others would keep. That is rarer than any weapon I command." The chamber's lights dimmed, leaving her in half shadow. Her pulse quickened. For the first time in her life, someone was offering her more than scraps, more than pity. It was a chance, terrifying, dangerous, but real. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Images of the cold streets flashed in her mind. The hunger, the loneliness, the endless struggle. Then, the memory of the wallet in her hands, the weight of the choice she had already made. Slowly, her breath steadied. When she opened her eyes again, there was no trembling in her voice. "I will not return to the streets," she said. "I will walk your path." For a heartbeat, silence swallowed the chamber. Then a faint smile touched the diplomat's lips, a smile sharp and knowing. "Then the galaxy will never be the same," he said. The chamber seemed to breathe with her words. The girl's choice hung in the air like thunder before a storm. The diplomat's eyes narrowed, as if measuring the weight of her resolve. For the first time, his iron mask cracked not with anger, but with something that almost looked like approval. "Then it begins," he said, his voice low but steady. He raised his hand, and the walls of the chamber shifted, opening into a long corridor lit with golden light. Guards stood lined along the path, their weapons at rest, but their eyes sharp. As the girl stepped forward, the soldiers stiffened, waiting for the diplomat's order. But instead of commanding them, the diplomat did something none expected. He moved to her side and, before all who watched, bowed his head ever so slightly in her direction. The guards froze, their eyes flickered in disbelief. A powerful diplomat bowing to a street child? It was unthinkable. Yet it happened in silence, witnessed by every armored warrior in the hall. The girl's heart raced. She did not understand. Why would a man of such power lower himself to her? The diplomat straightened, his voice rising so that all could hear. "This child, forgotten by the streets, has chosen courage over comfort. From this day forward, she is under my protection. Any who challenge her, challenge me." Gasps rippled through the guards. Even they had never heard him grant such a vow. Some shifted uneasily. Others bowed their heads in respect. The girl felt a tremor run through her. Only hours ago, she had been invisible, shivering in the alleys. Now, the most feared man in the city had placed his shield around her. It felt unreal, like walking in a dream she never dared to imagine. Outside the chamber, the embassy doors swung open. The night crowd, still gathered in curiosity, watched as the diplomat emerged. Whispers rose and fell like waves as they saw the street girl walking beside him. Number chains on her wrists, no shame in her step. The guards did not drive her away. They walked with her as though she belonged. The diplomat raised his hand for silence, and the crowd obeyed. His voice carried across the plaza. "This girl has done what many of you could not. She returned what was not hers. She carried honesty when the city is drowning in lies. And for that, she is no longer nameless." The girl's chest tightened. She had never thought she would hear such words spoken about her. People stared, stunned, some with awe, some with envy, but all with recognition. The diplomat turned to her, his expression softer than before. "From this night, you will stand, not as a beggar in the streets, but as a symbol of what truth can be, even in the darkest corners." Her breath caught. She had no reply. Her life had shifted in a single heartbeat. The crowd erupted in murmurs, their disbelief mixing with respect. And though fear still clung to her bones, one truth burned bright in her heart: she was no longer invisible. What had begun with a lost wallet had become something greater, something none of them would ever forget.